The transport shuttle shook as it came out of hyperspace. Lihanna pressed her face against the small window and gasped. In front of her was something she had only seen in pictures. Nexus Prime Academy floated in the darkness between stars like a giant crystal flower. Its walls were made of something that looked like living metal. Bright lights moved along its surface like glowing rivers. Hana held her acceptance letter tight in her hands. The paper was wrinkled from being folded and unfolded so many times. She still could not believe it was real. 2 years ago, humans did not even know other intelligent life existed. Now she was going to school with aliens. The shuttle pilot was a Drekmari. His skin was blue-green and covered in small scales. He had been polite but quiet during the 3-day journey from Earth. Now he turned to look at her with his large yellow eyes. "First human to attend Nexus Prime," he said in his deep voice. "You nervous?" Hana nodded. Her mouth was too dry to speak. "Good," the pilot said. "Smart beings get nervous before big things. Shows you understand what matters." The shuttle docked with a soft bump. Hana gathered her single bag and followed the pilot to the exit. The doors opened with a hiss. The smell hit her first. It was not bad, just different. Like flowers and metal and something else she could not name. Then she saw the other students. A group of tall beings with 6 arms stood near the docking platform. Their skin was gray and smooth. They wore flowing robes that changed colors as they moved. These had to be the Vorthak she had read about. They were looking at her and whispering in voices that sounded like wind chimes. Further away, shapes made of pure light drifted through the air. The Etherians. They had no solid bodies, just energy that took different forms. Right now they looked like glowing jellyfish floating in space. When they saw her looking, their light flickered in patterns she did not understand. Near the entrance to the main building, a group of insect-like creatures clicked and buzzed. The Chithan. They were smaller than humans, but their forearms moved very fast. Their large compound eyes all turned toward her at once. The clicking sounds they made did not sound friendly. Hana took a deep breath and stepped off the shuttle. Her legs felt weak. The gravity here was lighter than Earth's. Each step made her bounce a little. Some of the alien students made sounds that might have been laughter. "Miss Lihanna." She turned toward the voice. A tall figure walked toward her. His skin was covered in silver scales that caught the light. He had a long face with kind eyes and moved with smooth grace. This had to be a Zinthari. "I am Principal Velmorak," he said. His voice was warm and deep. "Welcome to Nexus Prime Academy." Hana tried to bow the way her mother had taught her, but the low gravity made her nearly fall over. Principal Morak caught her arm gently. "The gravity takes some getting used to," he said with what might have been a smile. "Come, let me show you to your quarters." As they walked through the academy, Hana tried not to stare at everything around her. The walls seemed to be alive. They pulsed with soft light and sometimes showed moving pictures of distant stars and planets. Students of different species filled the hallways. Most ignored her completely. Others stopped what they were doing to stare. "You are wondering why you are here," Principal Morak said as they walked. "Yes, sir," Hana said. "My test scores were good for a human, but compared to everyone else here." "Your scores broke records that had stood for over 1,000 years, Principal Morak said. "Not just for humans. For any species," Hana stumbled. "That cannot be right." "The Universal Aptitude Assessment does not lie," Principal Morak said. "Though I admit we were surprised too. Your species has been part of galactic society for only 2 years. Most civilizations take centuries to develop the knowledge needed to even attempt the assessment." They stopped in front of a door that opened without being touched. Inside was a small room with a bed, desk, and what looked like a communication screen. The walls showed a view of Earth from space. "I thought you might like to see home," Principal Morak said. Hana felt tears in her eyes. Earth looked so small and blue and far away. "Sir," she said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why am I really here? I mean, why just one human? Why not a whole group?" Principal Morak was quiet for a long moment. His scales seemed to dim slightly. "That is a very good question," he said finally. "The truth is, Miss Hana, your presence here is part of something much larger than just your education. There are those in the galaxy who believe humans are not ready to join galactic civilization. They think your species is too young, too violent, too unpredictable." "And what do you think?" Hana asked. "I think," Principal Morak said, "that diversity makes us all stronger. Every species brings something unique to the galaxy. The question is, what will humanity bring? After the principal left, Hana sat on her bed and looked out at the stars. She was 17 years old and 6 trillion miles from home. Tomorrow she would start classes with beings whose civilizations were older than human written history. She would have to prove herself not just as a student, but as a representative of her entire species. A soft chime came from the communication screen. A face appeared. It looked almost human, but made of light and energy. "Hello," the face said. "I am Kim Ji-won. I am your assigned integration assistant. I will help you learn the systems and customs of the academy." "Are you real?" Hana asked. "I am an artificial intelligence," Kim Ji-won said with a smile. "But I am real in all the ways that matter for helping you succeed here. And you will need help, Hana. This place is unlike anything on Earth." Hana looked back out at the view of space. Somewhere out there were 47 different species, each with their own worlds, cultures, and ways of thinking. Tomorrow she would start learning alongside their best and brightest young minds. "Kim Ji-won," she said. "What happens if I fail?" The AI's expression became serious. "That is not something we should think about right now," she said. "But Hana, you should know that many beings throughout the galaxy will be watching you. Your success or failure here will determine much more than just your own future." Hana nodded. She understood now. She was not just a student. She was an experiment, a test to see if humans belonged among the stars. She looked at her reflection in the window. A scared 17-year-old girl looked back, but behind her eyes she saw something else. The same stubbornness that had driven humans to explore every corner of their own planet. The same curiosity that had made them reach for the stars even when they thought they were alone in the universe. "Okay," she said to her reflection. "Let's see what humans can do." Outside her window, the academy drifted through space, carrying the hopes and fears of an entire species with it. Tomorrow the real test would begin. Hana woke up to the sound of chiming bells. Her first day of classes at Nexus Prime Academy was about to begin. Kim Ji-won's face appeared on the communication screen as soon as Hana sat up. "Good morning," the AI said cheerfully. "You have quantum mathematics first, then galactic history, followed by xenobiology lab. I have prepared study materials for each class." Hana rubbed her eyes. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she remembered that she was representing all of humanity. The pressure felt like a weight on her chest. "Kim Ji-won," she said, "how bad is this going to be?" The AI's expression became serious. "I will not lie to you, Hana. These classes are designed for species that have been part of galactic civilization for thousands of years. You will be starting far behind everyone else." Hana got dressed in the simple gray uniform all students wore. In the mirror, she looked exactly like what she was, a human trying to fit in among aliens. Her black hair and brown eyes seemed plain compared to the colorful beings she had seen yesterday. The dining hall was huge and filled with the strangest breakfast she had ever seen. Different species ate different things. The Vorthak consumed glowing liquids that sparkled. The Chithan crunched on what looked like metal pellets. The Etherians just floated near energy sources that fed them somehow. Hana found a food dispenser marked for carbon-based life forms. A tray of something that looked almost like eggs and toast appeared. It tasted strange, but not terrible. She sat alone at a table in the corner. 3 other students were sitting nearby. They looked almost human, except their skin was light blue and they had 4 fingers on each hand. One of them looked at her and whispered something to the others. They all turned to stare. "You are the human," one of them said. It was not a question. "Yes," Hana said. "I am Hana." "I am Park Minji," the blue-skinned girl said. "These are Choi Do-hyun and Kang So-young. We are from Kepler 7. "Nice to meet you," Hana said, hoping they might be friendly. "We heard about you," Choi Do-hyun said. "First human ever at Nexus Prime. Everyone is talking about it. What are they saying?" Hana asked, though she was not sure she wanted to know. Kang So-young looked uncomfortable. "Most are wondering how long you will last. The classes here are very difficult. Some are taking bets," Park Minji added quietly. "I am sorry. I should not have said that." Hana felt her face get hot. She was not just a student here. She was entertainment for beings who thought humans were primitive. The first class was quantum mathematics with Professor Nixara. The teacher was a crystalline being that looked like a walking diamond. When she spoke, her voice sounded like music made of light. "Today we will solve for probability waves in 11 dimensions," Professor Nixara announced. Hana looked at her tablet. The equations that appeared made no sense. They seemed to move and change as she watched them. Around her, other students began working immediately. Their tablets glowed as they manipulated the equations with their minds or special organs that humans did not have. The Vorthak students used all 6 arms to work on different parts of the problem at once. The Etherian students simply merged with their tablets and solved everything through direct energy contact. Even Park Minji and her friends worked much faster than Hana could even read the problems. After an hour of struggling, Hana had solved exactly 0 equations. Professor Nixara floated over to her desk. "Miss Hana," the crystal being said, "perhaps you should consider taking basic mathematics instead." Several students made sounds that might have been laughter. Hana felt her cheeks burn with shame. Galactic history was even worse. Professor Thanek was an ancient Zenthari with golden scales who had been alive for over 3,000 years. He had personally witnessed many of the events he taught. The Third Galactic War began when the Gorman Empire tried to claim the Vega system, he said. Of course, this was long before primitive species like humans even discovered fire. More laughter from the other students. Hana sank lower in her seat. "Can anyone tell me why the war lasted for 2 centuries? Professor Thanek asked. Every student except Hana raised their hand or made some signal. The professor called on a tall Drakmari student. "The Gormans underestimated the alliance between the Zenthari and the Luminar coalition," the student said. "They thought military strength was more important than diplomatic wisdom." "Excellent," Professor Thanek said. "This is why cooperation between civilized species is so important. War comes from the thinking of young, violent civilizations who have not learned better ways." His golden eyes looked directly at Hana when he said, "Young, violent civilizations." The worst class was Xenobiology Lab. Dr. Velak was a spider-like arachnari with 8 legs and compound eyes. The lab was full of equipment that Hana did not recognize. "Today you will analyze cellular samples from 5 different species," Dr. Velak announced. "Use your natural sensory abilities to determine genetic compatibility." The other students got to work immediately. The Vorthak students changed the color of their skin to match the samples they were studying. The Chithan used special organs in their heads to sense chemical compositions. The Etherian students passed their energy through the samples to read their molecular structure. Hana stared at her microscope. It was designed for beings with different types of eyes than humans had. She could barely see anything through it, let alone analyze what she was looking at. "Problems, human?" asked a Chithan student at the next table. His voice was full of clicks and buzzes that sounded mocking. "I am fine," Hana said, though she was not fine at all. She spent 2 hours trying to complete an assignment that other students finished in 30 minutes. Her results were all wrong. Dr. Velak looked at her work and shook his large head. "Perhaps Nexus. Prime was too optimistic about human capabilities," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. After classes, Hana went back to her room and sat on her bed. She had failed at everything. Every assignment, every question, every attempt to keep up with students from advanced civilizations. Kim Ji-won appeared on the screen. "How was your first day?" "Terrible," Hana said. "I do not understand anything. The other students are right. I do not belong here." "Hana," Kim Ji-won said gently, "you have been in galactic-level classes for exactly 1 day. The other students have been preparing for this their entire lives. Their species have been part of this civilization for thousands of years. Then why did they bring me here?" Hana asked. "Just to watch me fail?" "I do not think so," Kim Ji-won said. "Your test scores were not fake. You have abilities that impress the admissions board. Maybe the problem is not that you are not smart enough. Maybe the problem is that you are trying to think like them instead of thinking like a human." Hana looked out her window at the stars. Back on Earth, she had been one of the smartest students in her school. Here she felt stupid and useless. "Kim Ji-won," she said, "what if I cannot do this? What if humans really are too primitive for galactic civilization?" The AI was quiet for a moment. "Then humanity will remain isolated for a very long time," she said finally. "The Galactic Council is watching your progress very carefully. If you fail here, they will decide that humans need at least another century to develop before they try again." "No pressure," Hana said bitterly. "I know it seems impossible," Kim Ji-won said. "But remember something. Humans got to the stars without any help. Your species figured out spaceflight and faster-than-light travel completely on your own. That is actually very unusual. Most species need guidance from older civilizations." Hana had never thought about it that way. "Really?" "Really," Kim Ji-won said. Maybe the reason you are struggling is not because humans are too primitive. Maybe it is because humans think differently than everyone else. And maybe, eventually, that will be your strength instead of your weakness. That night, Hana lay in bed thinking about what Kim Ji-won had said. She was failing because she was trying to be like the other students. But she was not like them. She was human. And humans had gotten this far by being stubborn, creative, and refusing to give up. Tomorrow would be another day of impossible classes and alien students who thought she did not belong. But maybe, just maybe, there was a different way to approach the problems. A human way. Outside her window, the academy drifted through space, carrying the dreams of a scared girl who was slowly learning that being different might be exactly what the galaxy needed. 3 weeks had passed since Hana started classes at Nexus Prime Academy. Her grades were still terrible, but she was slowly learning to understand some of the basic concepts. Kim Ji-won helped her study every night, finding ways to explain alien science using human examples. Hana was in the library when the alarm started. The sound was unlike anything she had heard before. It was not loud like Earth sirens, but it seemed to reach into her mind and make her feel afraid. All around the library, students of different species looked up from their studies with worried expressions. A voice spoke in several languages at once. Hana heard the English translation through her universal translator device. Emergency Protocol 7 is now in effect. All students must remain in their current locations. Faculty will provide instructions. This is not a drill. The lights in the library changed from soft white to harsh red. Emergency barriers began sliding down over the windows. Park Minji ran over to where Hana was sitting. "What is Protocol 7? Hana asked. "Complete system lockdown," Park Minji said. Her blue face was pale with worry. Something very bad must be happening. Through the library's glass walls, Hana could see students and faculty running through the hallways. The emergency lighting made everything look like a nightmare. Professor Thanak, the ancient Zenthari history teacher, entered the library. His golden scales were flickering with stress patterns. "Students," he announced, "there has been a catastrophic failure in the Academy's lower environmental systems. Toxic gases are flooding several sections. The automated safety systems are not responding correctly." A Vortex student raised 2 of her 6 arms. "Professor, why are the safety systems failing?" "Unknown," Professor Thanak said. "The Academy's central computer is having difficulty calculating solutions. The failure involves too many variables happening at once." Hana looked around the library. About 30 students from different species were trapped here. Some were starting to panic. A group of Chithan students were clicking rapidly in their fear language. The Etherian students were flickering between different colors of light. "How long until rescue?" asked Choi Do-hyun. "The maintenance crews are trying to reach the affected areas," Professor Thanak said. "But the computer systems that control rescue operations are overwhelmed. They cannot process all the emergency variables fast enough." That was when Hana heard the scream. It came from somewhere below them. Through the floor, she could hear voices calling for help in languages her translator could not understand. "Students are trapped down there," she said. Professor Thanak nodded grimly. "Section C7. 15 students from various species. The rescue teams cannot reach them because the automated systems keep changing the safe routes." "What do you mean, changing the routes?" Hana asked. "The Academy's safety computer tries to find the best path for rescue teams," Professor Thanak explained. "But every few minutes, new data comes in. Gas levels change. Structural damage spreads. The computer recalculates and sends the rescue teams in a different direction. They keep getting lost in the maze of changing instructions." Hana stood up. Something about this problem felt familiar. "Professor," she said, "can I see the emergency layout maps?" "Miss Hana, this is not the time for academic curiosity," Professor Thanak said. "Please," Hana insisted. "I might be able to help." Professor Thanak looked skeptical, but he activated a wall display. A 3-dimensional map of the Academy appeared, showing the affected areas in red. Rescue team positions were marked in blue. Safe routes kept appearing and disappearing as the computer updated its calculations. Hana studied the map for several minutes. The other students watched her with confusion. What could a human possibly understand that their advanced computer systems could not? "The computer is thinking too hard," Hana said finally. "What do you mean?" Professor Thanak asked. "Look," Hana pointed at the map. "The computer is trying to find the perfect route. It wants 0 risk, maximum efficiency, optimal resource usage. But every time conditions change, it has to start over and calculate everything again. That is how safety systems are supposed to work, said a Drekmari student. Maximum precision prevents casualties. But while it is calculating, people are dying, Hana said. On Earth, when we have emergencies, we do not wait for perfect solutions. We use good enough solutions and fix problems as we go. She walked closer to the display. Look at this route here. The computer rejected it because there is a 12% chance of minor gas exposure, but that route could get rescuers there in 5 minutes instead of 20. 12% risk is unacceptable, Professor Thanek said. Unacceptable compared to what? Hana asked. Compared to letting 15 students die while the computer looks for a zero-risk solution that might not exist? Another scream came from below. This one sounded weaker. Hana made a decision that would change everything. She ran to the library's emergency supply cabinet and broke it open. Inside were basic tools and breathing masks. She grabbed what she could carry. Miss Hana, what are you doing? Professor Thanek demanded. Someone has to try the imperfect solution, she said. Before anyone could stop her, Hana ran out of the library. The hallways were filled with flashing red lights and the sound of alarms. She pulled up the map on her personal tablet and chose the route the computer had rejected. The route led her through maintenance tunnels she had never seen before. The air was getting thicker and harder to breathe. She put on one of the breathing masks and kept going. Behind her, she could hear Professor Thanek calling for security to stop her. But she also heard something else. Footsteps. Someone was following her. She turned around and saw Park Minji, Choi Do-hyun, and Kang So-young. They were wearing breathing masks and carrying emergency supplies. You cannot do this alone, Park Minji said. This is crazy, Kang So-young added. But maybe crazy is what we need right now. Together, they followed Hana's chosen route through the academy's lower levels. The path was not perfect. They had to climb over damaged equipment and squeeze through partially blocked passages. The air was bad and getting worse, but they made progress. In 15 minutes, they reached the area where the students were trapped. Through a cracked window, Hana could see them. 15 students from different species, huddled together in a room that was slowly filling with poisonous gas. Some were unconscious. Others were too weak to call for help anymore. The door is locked, Choi Do-hyun said. The security system will not let us open it. Hana looked at the door controls. They were flashing red, indicating a security lockdown. The computer was protecting the trapped students by sealing them in, but it was also killing them. Stand back, she said. Using tools from the emergency kit, Hana began taking apart the door control panel. It was not elegant or precise. She had no idea how alien technology really worked, but she understood basic principles that applied everywhere. Electricity, circuits, mechanical systems, what are you doing? Park Minji asked. I am not trying to understand how this system works, Hana said as she pulled out wires and rerouted connections. I am just trying to make it do what we need it to do. Sparks flew from the control panel. Alarms started sounding even louder, but the door clicked and began to open. It worked, Kang So-young said in amazement. They rushed into the room and began helping the trapped students. Working together, they carried the unconscious ones and supported those who could still walk. It took 3 trips to get everyone to safety. When they emerged into the main hallways with the last group of rescued students, they found a crowd waiting for them. Professor Thanek was there, along with Principal Morak and Commander Yoon Tae-hyung, the Academy's head of security. Commander Yoon was a Drakmari warrior with scars on his blue-green scales. He looked at Hana with something like respect in his yellow eyes. Miss Hana, he said, you violated direct orders and Academy safety protocols. Hana felt her heart sink. She was going to be expelled for sure. However, Commander Yoon continued, you also saved 15 lives that our systems could not save. Your approach was reckless, primitive, and completely against regulations. It also worked when nothing else would. Principal Morak stepped forward. Miss Hana, what you did today will be studied by every emergency response team in the galaxy. You solved a problem that defeated our most advanced systems. I just did what humans do, Hana said quietly. When something is broken, we fix it with whatever tools we have. We do not wait for perfect solutions. And that, said Commander Yoon, is something the galaxy has forgotten how to do. Word of the rescue spread through the Academy within hours. Students who had been ignoring Hana or making fun of her began looking at her differently. The human who could not solve quantum equations had solved a problem that stumped the galaxy's most sophisticated computers. That night, Kim Ji-won appeared on Hana's communication screen with something new in her expression. Pride. How do you feel? The AI asked. Confused, Hana said honestly. I still cannot do my homework. I still fail most of my tests. But somehow I saved people today. Do you know what I think happened? Kim Ji-won said. I think you stopped trying to think like them and started thinking like a human. And for the first time, everyone saw what humans can really do. After the rescue incident, everything changed for Hana at Nexus Prime Academy. Students who had ignored her before now nodded when she walked by. Some even asked her questions about human problem-solving methods. Her professors were more patient with her struggles in class. But Hana felt like something was wrong. Little things that did not make sense before were starting to form a pattern. The emergency that had trapped 15 students was officially called a random system failure. But Hana remembered that the computer had been working perfectly in all her classes that day. How could such an advanced system suddenly fail so completely? Then there were the accidents. In her first week, the gravity in her room had malfunctioned, making her float helplessly until maintenance fixed it. Her food dispenser had given her something that made her sick for 2 days. Her class tablets had stopped working during important tests 3 different times. Everyone said these were normal growing pains for a new student. But now Hana was starting to wonder if they really were accidents. She was thinking about this while walking through the academy's lower maintenance levels. She had started coming here to study because it was quiet and reminded her a little bit of Earth's industrial areas. That was when she heard voices speaking, in hushed tones around the corner. The human girl is becoming a problem, said a voice that sounded like grinding metal. She was supposed to fail quietly and go home. Instead, she is gaining respect. The rescue incident was not part of the plan, said another voice, this one with a musical quality that hurt Hana's ears. Our sabotage was meant to create a crisis that only proper galactic thinking could solve. How did she succeed where our computers failed? Hana pressed herself against the wall and listened carefully. Her heart was beating so fast she was afraid they might hear it. It does not matter how she did it, the first voice said. What matters is that she cannot be allowed to succeed. The Galactic Council meets in 6 weeks to decide humanity's fate. If she passes her final evaluations, they might vote to include humans in galactic society. That cannot happen, the musical voice said. Humans are too unpredictable, too dangerous. They will disrupt the order we have maintained for millennia. Do not worry, the first voice said. The next phase of our plan will ensure she fails. The plague simulation will begin soon. When it spreads through the academy, the council will see that diversity is weakness. They will vote to quarantine Earth permanently. Hana felt cold all over. Plague simulation? They were planning to make students sick on purpose. She heard footsteps moving away and carefully looked around the corner. 2 figures were walking down the hallway. One was tall and thin with skin that looked like black metal. The other was shorter and seemed to be made of flowing water that caught light like a prism. She had never seen either species before. They were not students or regular faculty. So who were they, and why were they trying to make her fail? Hana waited until they were gone, then ran back to her room as fast as she could. She needed to tell someone, but who would believe her? And how could she prove what she had heard? Kim Ji-won appeared on her screen as soon as she entered her room. Hana, you look upset. What happened? Kim Ji-won, Hana said carefully. Can anyone else hear our conversations? The AI's expression became serious. Why do you ask? Please just answer me. Is this private? Kim Ji-won was quiet for a moment. Officially, all student communications are monitored for safety purposes. But I have been using encryption protocols that should prevent most eavesdropping. What is wrong? Hana told Kim Ji-won everything she had overheard. The AI listened without interrupting, but her expression grew more worried with each detail. Hana, Kim Ji-won said when she finished, what you are describing sounds like a conspiracy by expansionist agents. Expansionist agents? I should have explained this to you sooner, Kim Ji-won said. The galaxy is divided into political factions. The expansionists believe that mixing different species weakens galactic civilization. They want to keep each species separate and controlled. The integrationists believe that diversity makes everyone stronger. And I am caught in the middle, Hana said. Worse than that, Kim Ji-won said. You are the test case. If you succeed here, it proves the integrationist position. If you fail, it proves the expansionist position. A new voice spoke from behind Hana. She is right about everything except one thing. Hana spun around. A man was standing in her room. He looked almost human, but his skin was slightly green and his eyes were too large. He was wearing maintenance worker clothes. Who are you? Hana demanded. How did you get in here? My name is Nam Hee-sung, the man said, and I am here to help you. Also, I am actually human. That is impossible, Hana said. You do not look human. Nam Hee-sung touched a device on his belt. Suddenly his appearance changed. The green skin became normal pale brown. His eyes became regular human size. He looked like he could be someone's older brother from Seoul. Holographic disguise, he explained. I have been working undercover at this academy for 2 years, preparing for your arrival. Preparing for my arrival? Hana, Nam Hee-sung said, you were not chosen for this academy because of your test scores. You were chosen because Earth's government and the integrationist faction needed someone who could prove that humans belong in galactic society. Hana sat down hard on her bed. So my test scores were fake? No, your scores were real, Nam Hee-sung said. But hundreds of humans scored just as well. You were selected for other reasons. Your psychological profile showed the kind of creative thinking and adaptability that humans are famous for. You mean I am still just an experiment? In a way, yes, Nam Hee-sung said gently. But you are an experiment that the future of humanity depends on. If you fail here, Earth will be isolated for at least another century. Maybe forever. Kim Ji-won's face on the screen looked troubled. Nam Hee-sung, what about this plague simulation the agents mentioned? That is the worst part, Nam Hee-sung said. Our intelligence sources have been hearing rumors about something called Operation Diversity Failure. The expansionists plan to release an engineered pathogen that will affect multiple species at once. They will claim that mixing species created the vulnerability that allowed the plague to spread. But that would actually hurt students, Hana said. The pathogen is designed to be survivable but frightening, Nam Hee-sung said. They want panic, not mass casualties. When species start blaming each other for the outbreak, the Galactic Council will vote to return to species separation policies. And they timed it to happen during my evaluation period, Hana said. Exactly. They want your failure and the plague to happen together. It will be the perfect argument for keeping humans isolated. Hana stood up and walked to her window. Outside, the academy drifted peacefully through space. But now she knew that beneath the surface a political war was being fought with her as the main battleground. Nam Hee-sung, she said. What am I supposed to do? I am just one student. How can I fight against people who can engineer plagues and sabotage academy systems? The same way you saved those 15 students, Nam Hee-sung said. By thinking like a human instead of trying to think like them. But this is bigger than a rescue mission, Hana said. This is politics and conspiracies and things I do not understand. Maybe, Nam Hee-sung said. But remember what you told me about the emergency rescue. You said the computer was thinking too hard, trying to find perfect solutions while people were dying. Hana turned to look at him. You think the expansionists are making the same mistake? I think they are so focused on their perfect plan that they are not considering human unpredictability, Nam Hee-sung said. They have calculated how students and faculty will react to their engineered crisis, but they have not calculated how you will react. Because they do not understand humans, Hana said, beginning to understand. Because they do not understand humans, Nam Hee-sung agreed. And that might be the only advantage we have. Kim Ji-won's image flickered on the screen. There is something else you should know, she said. I have been monitoring communication patterns throughout the academy. Several faculty members have been having encrypted conversations with off-world contacts. I think the conspiracy involves more people than just those 2 agents you overheard. How many more? Hana asked. Unknown, Kim Ji-won said. But enough to coordinate a major operation. Nam Hee-sung checked a device on his wrist. Hana, I have to go. My cover will be blown if I stay here too long. But remember, you are not as alone as you think. The integrationist faction has allies throughout the academy. The problem is figuring out who they are without revealing ourselves to the expansionist agents. Wait, Hana said. How will I contact you? Through Kim Ji-won, Nam Hee-sung said. She has access to secure communication channels that I set up. But be careful. From now on, assume you are being watched constantly. After he left, Hana sat in her room trying to process everything she had learned. She was not just a student trying to pass her classes. She was a pawn in a galactic political game that would determine humanity's future. Kim Ji-won, she said, how long do we have before this plague simulation begins? Based on the timeline they mentioned, probably less than 2 weeks, the AI said. And if I cannot stop it? The plague began on a Tuesday morning. Hana was in the dining hall eating breakfast when the first student collapsed. It was a Vorthak named Kelleth from her quantum mathematics class. One moment he was talking with his friends, the next moment he was on the floor, his 6 arms shaking uncontrollably. Within minutes, more students began falling sick. A Chithan student started making horrible buzzing sounds and could not stop. 2 Etherian students lost control of their energy forms and flickered like broken lights. Park Minji suddenly turned pale green instead of her normal light blue. The medical teams arrived quickly, but they looked confused and frightened. Dr. Yalix, the head medical officer, was a tall luminar with crystal skin. Her usual calm expression was replaced by something Hana had never seen before. Panic. This is impossible, Dr. Yalix announced to the gathered faculty. We have 7 different species showing symptoms, but they are all completely different diseases. Vorthak nerve syndrome, Chithan vocal paralysis, Etherian energy disruption, Kepler toxemia. These conditions have nothing in common. Could it be multiple outbreaks happening at once? Asked Professor Thanek. The probability of that is astronomically small, Dr. Yalix said. But a single pathogen that affects multiple species differently is also supposed to be impossible. Within hours, the academy was in lockdown. More students fell sick every hour. The symptoms were different for each species, but they all seemed to follow the same pattern. First came weakness and confusion. Then each species developed problems specific to their biology. None of the symptoms were deadly, but they were frightening and got worse over time. Hana watched from her quarantine room as medical teams ran through the hallways. Everyone was wearing protective gear and looked scared. The Academy's communication systems buzzed with reports of the mysterious plague spreading to other schools and space stations throughout the galaxy. Kim Ji-won appeared on her screen looking worried. Hana, this has to be the plague simulation Nam Hee-sung warned us about. But it is affecting real students, Hana said. People are really getting sick. The pathogen is designed to be survivable but scary, Kim Ji-won reminded her. The expansionists want to create panic without causing too many deaths. It is working, Hana said. Through her window, she could see students of the same species clustering together. The Vorthak students had isolated themselves in the East Wing. The Chithan students had barricaded themselves in the science labs. Even species that had been friendly before were now avoiding each other. They think mixing species caused this, Hana realized. Each group thinks the others brought the disease. 3 days into the crisis, Hana was still healthy. So were a few other students, but most of the academy was sick or quarantined. The medical teams had tried every treatment they knew, but nothing worked. Each species' traditional medicine helped their own kind a little bit, but could not cure anyone completely. That was when Dr. Shin Minho arrived. He was a middle-aged human man with kind eyes and graying hair. He wore the blue uniform of Earth's Medical Diplomatic Corps. When he walked into the Academy's main medical bay, every alien doctor turned to stare. I am Dr. Shin from Earth, he announced. I specialize in cross-species medical research. Principal Morak asked me to help with this crisis. Dr. Yalix looked skeptical. With respect, Dr. Shin, this plague is beyond anything we have seen before. Our most advanced medical systems cannot identify the pathogen or find a cure. That might be exactly why you need a human perspective, Dr. Shin said calmly. Hana was allowed to leave quarantine to help translate human medical concepts for the alien doctors. As she worked with Dr. Shin, she began to understand something important about the plague. Dr. Shin, she said quietly, I do not think this is one disease. What do you mean? Look at the symptoms, Hana said, pointing to the medical charts. Every species is getting sick in a completely different way. But they all started getting sick at the same time in the same places. Dr. Shin studied the data carefully. You think it is multiple diseases designed to work together? Maybe, Hana said. But there is something else. The symptoms match exactly with what each species' medical books say are their worst fears. Vorthak nerve syndrome is what they are most afraid of. Chithan vocal paralysis is their greatest nightmare. It is like someone designed these diseases to create maximum panic. Biological warfare, Dr. Shin said grimly. Designed not to kill but to terrify and divide. That night, Hana could not sleep. The academy felt like a ghost ship. Most students were too sick to leave their rooms. The healthy ones were afraid to interact with anyone from other species. The faculty spent all their time trying treatments that did not work. She decided to visit the students who were still healthy. Maybe together they could figure out something the medical teams were missing. She found Oceanwu in the library. He was a quiet Drakmari student who had been kind to her since the rescue incident. His blue-green scales were dull with worry. "Xianwu," she said, "how are you feeling?" "Scared," he admitted. "Everyone from my species who got sick started showing symptoms on the second day. I keep waiting for it to happen to me." "What about your roommate?" Hana asked. "Young Aryam?" "She is fine, too. She is in the chemistry lab trying to analyze pathogen samples, but she is not having any luck." Hana found young Aryam surrounded by equipment and looking frustrated. Young Aryam was from a species called the Malari. They looked almost human except for their silver hair and violet eyes. "Any progress?" Hana asked. "Nothing makes sense," young Aryam said. "I can find traces of 7 different pathogens in the samples, but they should not be able to work together like this. It is like someone combined the worst diseases from each species into one super plague." "Wait," Hana said. 7 different pathogens?" "Yes, one for each affected species. But there is no way natural evolution could create something like this." Hana felt a chill of understanding. "Young Aryam, what if they are not supposed to work together? What if they are supposed to make us think they work together? I do not understand." "Think about it," Hana said. "The expansionists want to prove that diversity is dangerous. So they create a fake plague that seems to spread between species. Everyone panics and blames mixing different species for the outbreak. But the diseases are real," young Aryam said. "Students are really sick." "Yes, but maybe they are not connected the way we think they are," Hana said. "Maybe someone just released 7 different diseases at the same time and in the same places to make it look like one super plague." Young Aryam stared at her. "If you are right, then the cure is not to find one treatment that works on everything. The cure is to treat each disease separately using each species' own medical knowledge." Hana finished. They ran to find Dr. Shin and Dr. Yalix. It took some convincing, but finally the medical team agreed to try Hana's approach. Instead of looking for one universal cure, they would treat each species with their own traditional medicine while keeping everyone isolated to prevent real cross-contamination. "But this goes against all our protocols," Dr. Yalix protested. "We always look for unified solutions that work for everyone." "Sometimes the best solution is not unified," Dr. Shin said. "Sometimes the best solution is to let each group use what works best for them while still working together toward the same goal." Within 24 hours, students began recovering. The Vorthak students responded to Vorthak medicine. The Chithan students got better with Chithan treatments. Each species' traditional cures worked perfectly once they stopped trying to find one treatment for everyone. But the most important discovery came from Jung. Aryam's continued analysis of the pathogens. "Hana was right," she announced to the medical team. "These are 7 separate diseases that were engineered to seem connected. Someone wanted us to think that species diversity caused this plague. Who would do such a thing?" Dr. Yalix asked. "Someone who wanted to prove that mixing species is dangerous," Dr. Shin said grimly. Word of the successful treatment spread throughout the academy and beyond. But instead of celebrating, many students and faculty began asking hard questions. How had 7 different diseases appeared at exactly the same time? Why had the academy's security systems failed to detect biological weapons? Who had access to pathogens from so many different species? Hana was walking back to her room when she overheard 2 faculty members talking in low voices. "The timing is too convenient," one was saying. "Right before the human girl's final evaluation? A plague that makes diversity look dangerous?" "And notice how she was the one who figured out the cure," the other replied. Almost like she knew something the rest of us did not. Hana felt cold. They were starting to suspect that humans were involved in creating the plague. The expansionist plan was working even better than expected. Not only had they created fear about species mixing, they were now making it look like humans were the ones responsible for the crisis. She reached her room and found Nam Hyusung waiting for her. "We have a problem," he said without greeting. "Our intelligence sources intercepted communications from expansionist agents. They are planning to reveal evidence that humans engineered this plague." "But that is not true," Hana said. The next morning brought the worst news Hana could imagine. She woke up to find Kim Ji-won's face on her screen looking more worried than she had ever seen the AI before. "Hana, you need to see this," Kim Ji-won said. "The Galactic News Network is broadcasting something terrible." The screen changed to show a Zenthari news reporter with golden scales. Behind him was a display showing DNA sequences and laboratory data. "Breaking news from the Nexus Prime Academy plague investigation," the reporter said. "Evidence has been discovered linking the recent multi-species outbreak to biological weapons research conducted on Earth. Documents obtained by our sources show that human scientists developed these pathogens as part of a secret military program." Hana felt sick. The fake evidence looked completely real. Charts showed human DNA signatures in the plague samples. Laboratory reports with Earth government seals described weapons designed to target alien biology. Furthermore, the reporter continued, investigators have discovered that the human student Lee Hana had advanced knowledge of the plague's nature. Her unusually quick diagnosis and treatment suggestions are now being viewed as evidence of human involvement in this attack. "This is not happening," Hana whispered. The news got worse. The reporter showed footage of protests on dozens of worlds. Alien civilians were demanding that humans be banned from galactic society. Some were calling for military action against Earth. "The Galactic Council has called an emergency session for today," the reporter concluded. "They will vote on whether to place Earth under permanent quarantine and consider it a hostile world." Kim Ji-won's face returned to the screen. "Hana, Nam Hyesung says you need to get to the council chambers immediately. Principal Morak is trying to delay the vote, but he can only do so much." Hana got dressed quickly and ran through the academy's hallways. Students and faculty stared at her as she passed. Some looked angry. Others looked scared. A few looked sympathetic, but they were in the minority. She found the council chambers filled with beings she had never seen before. Representatives from 47 different species sat in a great circle. At the center was High Chancellor Lim So-min, an elderly luminar whose crystal body glowed with authority. Principal Morak stood at a speaker's podium, addressing the council. "Honorable representatives," he was saying, "I urge caution in this matter. The evidence against humanity appears convenient in its timing and completeness." "Convenient or not, the evidence is clear," interrupted Senator Vex Thorne, a tall Gorvani with black metal skin. Hana recognized his voice from the conversation she had overheard weeks ago. He was one of the expansionist agents. "Human biological weapons attacked innocent students," Senator Thorne continued. "Their agent, this Lee Hana, had advanced knowledge that allowed her to appear heroic while covering up her species' crimes." Murmurs of agreement came from many council members. Hana could see that most had already made up their minds. "I call for an immediate vote," Senator Thorne said. "Earth should be quarantined permanently and monitored for future attacks." "Seconded," called another voice. High Chancellor Lim So-min raised her hand for silence. "Before we vote, I believe we should hear from the accused." "Miss Hana, please approach the speaker's stand." Hana walked to the center of the chamber on shaking legs. Hundreds of alien eyes watched her every move. The weight of humanity's future pressed down on her shoulders. "Miss Hana," the High Chancellor said, "you have been accused of participating in a biological attack against galactic civilians. How do you respond?" Hana took a deep breath. "Your Honor, humans did not create this plague. We are being framed by the same people who engineered the attack." "You have proof of this?" Senator Thorne asked mockingly. "I have logic," Hana said, "and I have questions that no one seems to want to answer." She turned to address the full council. "If humans created these biological weapons, why would we send them to a school where the only human student would be trapped with everyone else? If I had advanced knowledge, why would I risk my own life to help with the rescue efforts?" "Perhaps you miscalculated," Senator Thorne said. "Humans are known for their primitive thinking." "Maybe," Hana said. "But let me ask you something else. How did someone get 7 different biological weapons into the most secure educational facility in the galaxy? How did they know exactly which diseases would create maximum fear in each species? How did they coordinate the timing so perfectly with my final evaluation period?" Some council members began looking thoughtful. Others remained hostile. "You are suggesting a conspiracy," High Chancellor Lim So-min said. "I am suggesting the truth," Hana said. "Someone wanted to make diversity look dangerous. Someone wanted to frame humans for the attack." Someone with access to high-level galactic security and detailed knowledge of every species' biology. Who? Demanded Senator Thorne, his voice rising. Who has such access and knowledge? Members of the Galactic Council itself, Hana said quietly. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Several representatives shouted accusations at Hana. Others demanded proof. Senator Thorne looked furious. This is outrageous, he declared. The human is desperately trying to avoid responsibility by blaming the very institution that governs galactic peace. Am I? Hunter asked. Then explain this. She pulled out a data tablet that Nam Hee-sung had given her that morning. 3 weeks ago, someone accessed the Academy's biological sample storage. The access codes belonged to a council member. The same day, shipments of laboratory equipment were sent to 7 different locations in the Academy's lower levels. Lies and fabrications, Senator Thorne said. Then you will not mind if we examine your personal access logs, Hana said, looking directly at him. For the first time, Senator Thorne looked uncertain. High Chancellor Lim Salmon leaned forward. Senator Thorne, do you consent to having your access records reviewed? This is highly irregular, Senator Thorne said. Council members should not be subjected to investigation based on the accusations of primitive species. That sounds like a no, Hana said. Other council members began talking among themselves. The mood in the chamber was shifting. Doubt was replacing certainty. Furthermore, Hana continued, I can prove that the biological weapons were not developed on Earth. The pathogen signatures that supposedly show human involvement were added after the original diseases were created. They are forgeries designed to frame my species. How can you possibly know that? Senator Thorne demanded. Because humans think differently than you do, Hana said. When you created fake evidence, you made it too perfect. Too complete. Too convenient. Real scientific research is messy and incomplete. But your fake evidence looks exactly like what someone who has never done actual research would think research looks like. Dr. Shin Minho stepped forward from the observer section. If I may, Your Honor, I have reviewed the evidence presented against humanity. Miss Hana is correct. The documentation is too clean, too organized. It does not match the reality of how biological research is conducted. And I can prove it, said another voice. Jung Ariam walked into the chamber carrying a case of laboratory equipment. I have spent the last 3 days analyzing the original pathogen samples. The human DNA signatures were added artificially after the diseases were created. They are not part of the original biological structure. This proves nothing, Senator Thorne said, but his voice was less confident now. It proves everything, Hana said. The same people who created the plague also created the evidence to frame humans. They wanted to use fear to destroy galactic diversity and cooperation. Even if this conspiracy theory were true, another council member said, it does not change the fact that the plague happened. Mixing species clearly creates vulnerabilities that can be exploited. Does it? Hunter asked. Or does mixing species create strengths that can solve problems no single group could handle alone? She gestured to young Areum and Dr. Shin. A human doctor, a Malari chemist, and Drakmari medical knowledge working together cured a plague that defeated the best individual species medicine. Diversity did not create the vulnerability. Diversity created the solution. The plague was designed to make diversity look dangerous, she continued. But when we worked together instead of separating ourselves, we beat it in less than a week. The conspiracy failed because they underestimated what different species could accomplish by cooperating. High Chancellor Lim Soman stood up. Senator Thorne, in light of these accusations and evidence, I formally request that you submit to a full investigation of your activities. I refuse, Senator Thorne said. This is a witch hunt based on the desperate lies of a primitive species. Then you leave me no choice, the High Chancellor said. Security, please detain Senator Thorne pending investigation. Galactic security officers moved toward Senator Thorne. But instead of surrendering, he activated a device on his belt. Suddenly he was surrounded by a force field that crackled with energy. You fools, he said, his voice distorted by the field. Diversity will destroy galactic civilization. Species were meant to remain separate and pure. This human contamination must be stopped. There it is, Hana said. The real agenda. Not security, not safety, just fear of anything different. Senator Thorne raised another device. If the Council will not vote to quarantine humanity, then I will ensure it happens by force. The Council vote had ended, but the real crisis was just beginning. On the screens around the chamber, two fleets faced each other in the darkness of space. The expansionist ships were sleek and black, designed for intimidation. The integrationist ships were more colorful, representing dozens of different species and shipbuilding styles. High Chancellor Commander Yoon Tae-hyung reported, "The expansionist fleet is demanding that we surrender the Academy and all human personnel. They claim they have authority under emergency security provisions. They have no such authority," High Chancellor Lim So-man said firmly. "But they do have weapons." Senator Thorne laughed from inside his force field. "Fire one shot at my ships, and the galaxy will see this as an act of war against security forces. Public opinion will turn against your precious diversity experiment." Hana realized he was right. Even though the Council had voted to support humanity, a space battle would terrify civilian populations throughout the galaxy. Fear would win in the end, just as the expansionists wanted. "Your Honor," Hana said, "may I make a suggestion?" "Miss Hana, this is now a military matter," High Chancellor Lim So-man said gently. "Diplomacy has failed, has it?" Hana asked. "Or have we just been thinking about this the wrong way?" She walked to the center of the chamber again. Every eye in the room focused on her. "Senator Thorne, you said that diversity creates weakness, that mixing species makes everyone vulnerable. You used the plague to try to prove that." "And I was right," Senator Thorne said. "Look where diversity has brought us. The galaxy is on the brink of civil war." "But that is not because of diversity," Hana said. "That is because of fear of diversity. There is a difference." She turned to address the full council. "What if we could prove right now that working together makes us stronger than working apart?" "How?" asked Representative Keth, a wise Mallory counselor. "The same way we proved it with the plague," Hana said. "By solving a problem that no single species could solve alone." High Chancellor Lim So-man looked puzzled. "What problem?" Hana pointed at the screen showing the two fleets. "That one. How do we resolve a military standoff without anyone firing shots? How do we prove that cooperation works better than force?" "Impossible," Senator Thorne scoffed. "Military conflicts are resolved through strength, not cooperation." "Are they?" Hana asked. "Commander Yoon, what is the biggest weakness of the expansionist fleet?" Commander Yoon studied the tactical displays. "They have powerful individual ships, but they are all the same design. Same weapons, same shields, same tactics. Very predictable." "And the biggest weakness of the integrationist fleet?" "Too much diversity," Commander Yoon said reluctantly. "Different species use different communication systems, different battle strategies. It is hard to coordinate them effectively. So the expansionists are strong but predictable, and the integrationists are diverse but uncoordinated," Hana said. "What if there was a third option?" "What do you mean?" High Chancellor Lim So-man asked. Hana smiled. "What if we do not fight them at all? What if we invite them to join us?" The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Senator Thorne laughed so hard his force field flickered. "You want to invite an enemy fleet to surrender?" he said. "Child, you understand nothing about military reality." "Maybe," Hana said, "but I understand something about human reality. Sometimes the best way to defeat an enemy is to make them your friend." She activated the chamber's communication system. "This is Lee Hana aboard Nexus Prime Academy, calling the expansionist fleet. I would like to speak with your commanding officer." A new face appeared on the screens. It was a Drakmari admiral with scarred blue-green scales and cold yellow eyes. "I am Admiral Voss Thek," he said. "You are the human who has caused so much trouble." "Admiral," Hana said, "I have a question for you. Do you really believe that diversity makes us weaker?" "Of course," Admiral Thek said. "Mixed crews are inefficient. Mixed fleets cannot coordinate properly. Purity of purpose creates strength." "Then I have a challenge for you," Hana said. "A test to prove who is right." Senator Thorne tried to interrupt, but Hana continued speaking. "Your fleet versus our fleet, but not in battle. In problem solving. Give us both the same impossible task and see who completes it first. Pure unity versus diverse cooperation." Admiral Thek looked interested despite himself. "What kind of task?" "Something real," Hana said. "Something that matters." She turned to Nam Hyesung, who had entered the chamber with the security forces. "Nam, do we still have those plague samples that Young Arium analyzed?" "Yes," Nam Hyesung said, understanding immediately. "And we know they are about to mutate into something much more dangerous." Hana faced the communication screen again. "Admiral Thek, the biological weapons your allies created are not finished. According to our analysis, They will mutate within the next few hours into airborne pathogens that could spread to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Admiral Thek's expression changed from confidence to concern. That was not part of the plan. No, Hana said. But it is the reality. Someone has to develop a treatment that will work on all species before the mutation completes. The question is, who can do it faster? Your ships with their unified approach or our mixed crews working together? This is ridiculous, Senator Thorne said. But his voice sounded worried now, is it? Hana asked. Admiral, are you afraid that diverse teams might outperform your pure unity approach? Admiral Thek's pride was stung. My medical teams are the finest in the expansionist forces. We accept your challenge. Excellent, Hana said. 1 hour time limit. Whoever develops an effective treatment first wins. If we win, your fleet withdraws and the conspiracy ends. If you win, we surrender peacefully. Agreed, Admiral Thek said. Begin now. The screen split to show both fleets beginning urgent medical research. The expansionist ships worked with perfect efficiency. Each vessel had identical laboratories staffed by the same species using the same methods. The integrationist response looked chaotic by comparison. Centauri wisdom keepers consulted ancient texts. Vorthak engineers built new equipment designs. Chethan chemists mixed compounds with 6 arms working simultaneously. Etherian energy beings analyzed molecular structures at the quantum level. Human doctors coordinated everything using intuitive pattern recognition. Look at them, Senator Thorne said dismissively. Complete disorder. They cannot even agree on an approach. But Hana was watching something else. Each diverse team was finding pieces of the solution that others missed. The Centauri identified historical patterns. The Vorthak created new tools. The Chithan discovered chemical combinations. The Etherians revealed energy interactions. The humans connected all the pieces together. 40 minutes into the challenge, the expansionist fleet announced their result. Treatment compound completed, Admiral Thek reported. Laboratory simulations show 73% effectiveness across affected species. It was a good result, but not perfect. Time remaining? Hana asked. 18 minutes, Commander Yoon replied. The diverse teams were still working frantically. It looked like chaos, but Hana could see the pattern. Each species was contributing their unique strengths while human coordinators helped everyone understand how the pieces fit together. 10 minutes remaining. Came the announcement. 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Time, High Chancellor Lim Soman called. Dr. Shin stepped forward with a data tablet. Treatment compound completed. Laboratory simulations show 97% effectiveness across all species. The chamber fell silent. Admiral Thek checked his own readings twice before responding. Confirmed, he said quietly. The diverse approach produced superior results. Senator Thorne stared in shock. Impossible. Unity creates strength. Diversity creates weakness, Knoin, Hana said. Fear creates weakness. Diversity creates strength when people are not afraid to work together. Admiral Thek appeared thoughtful on the communication screen. Miss Hana, how did your chaotic approach outperform our organized efficiency? Because chaos is not the same as disorder, Hana explained. Your teams all thought the same way and made the same assumptions. Our teams thought differently and found solutions you never considered. When we combined all our different approaches, we got a better result than any single approach could achieve. I need to reconsider some things, Admiral Thek said slowly. Admiral, Hana said, your people are not our enemies. You joined the expansionists because you believe in protecting galactic civilization. So do we. The only difference is how we think that protection should work. She looked directly into the communication screen. What if instead of fighting each other, we work together to build something better? What if we prove that cooperation creates more security than separation ever could? Admiral Thek was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he said, my fleet withdraws. The challenge results speak for themselves. As the expansionist ships began moving away, Senator Thorne's force field flickered and died. Galactic security officers immediately surrounded him. This is not over, he said as they led him away. Fear of diversity will return. Species will separate themselves again. Maybe, Hana said. But every time they do, we will be here to show them a better way. 6 months later, Hana stood in the same council chamber wearing the graduation robes of Nexus Prime Academy. She had finished her studies not just as a passing student, but as valedictorian of her class.